So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today we sat down with Tom Russell, and you all know him as the owner and proprietor of Hollandspiele Games.
Well, co-owner, co-proprietor, because Mary's the one who really runs the show, and I'm the one who just pushes counters around.
You're the kind of the designer, and she's everything else.
It's the everything else, yeah.
And we love her for that. We love you, Mary, and we wish you were here at WBC. So we're at WBC 2019, and we just thought we'd sit down and kind of have a chat about Hollandspiele. We've played a good number of your games, and we have a blast every time. But starting a war game company and owning and running that's a fairly intense thing to have done in your life. So we wanted to kind of ask you, how did you decide to even do that?
Well, we always kind of intended when we got into the hobby to get into publishing. At that point, we were looking at publishing Euro-style games. That's what I thought I was going to be designing. And then I kind of fell into war games. And there was kind of a sequence of events that led to Mary and I both doing work for some war game companies. And we saw how they were doing it and saw how we could emulate that, things we could take from that and borrow, and things we could do a little differently. And said, hey, we can do this. This is the way we can publish games without financial risk, because this works on a print-on-demand model. And so basically the way it works on our end of it is that someone buys the game, they give us the money, we tell our printer to print the game, they send them the game, we pay our printer, and then we get whatever is left. So there's not that same financial risk that you get when you have to print 1,000, 2,000 copies of a game and maybe sell, not very many of them. So once we had that method, we had a way for us, two people who did not have a lot of money, to start a war game company. And we did.
And your printer, from your print-on-demand model, who is your printer? We'll give them a shout-out.
It's Blue Panther LLC.
That's whose booth we're at right now. They do games for a few other companies as well, and they're a great outfit. You can check out their website, there's a lot of stuff on there as well. Your games have that great distinctive smell when you open them as well, and that comes from that printing process.
We're working on that.
We love it. But, so that's kind of starting a war game company. What's been some kind of challenges that you've come up against in doing that over the years?
It hasn't been super challenging, really. I mean, there are challenges in designing games, and there's stuff we have to do every day to maintain where we're at and to grow what we're doing. But, once we figured out the method and we're able to do that, we haven't had any huge obstacles to overcome. It's a pretty mellow pace, which works for us. Now, when we started, we weren't thinking of it as being a full-time endeavor. It was going to be a part-time thing, some side money. And then after 6 months, we were doing well enough where I could quit my day job and we could both do it full-time. And that was a little scary. I mean, there was a challenge there. And in fact, the month that we did it, the month that I finally quit, we made no money. So it was really
oh no, what have I done?
But it turned out okay, and really going full time is what enabled us to really grow the company, because then we had more time to focus on the development of the games, but also to focus on the way we were marketing the games to people. We started doing the little podcast that we do. We started doing the videos for the games, and both of those seem to engage with people in ways that we weren't before. And I was able to concentrate more with the blog things that we do every week. So finding all those different ways to be engaging and responsive with the community, and that, I think, is a big part of what got us that higher level of success, a higher level of recognition. Because the thing that I tell people, especially when they're starting out, is that it gets easier as you go along. If you succeed, you continue to succeed, and it gets easier and easier for people to know who you are. So there's less effort required to get people to pay attention to you and what you're doing. Whereas, when we first started, no one knew who we were, no one cared who we were, and it was a struggle. And now people know who we are, and we have our whole model's built on a certain minimum level of sales that we know we can do with every game. Like, even if a game doesn't do well, we know we'll sell X number of copies. Well, X number of copies when we started was a lower number than it is now. Now we expect a much higher minimum sales, and can budget accordingly with our art, which is really our only upfront cost.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably kind of a rambly answer, but generally it's gotten easier. It's gotten a lot easier, and we have a number of fans now, and they're the ones really selling our games for us. So thank you all for doing that.
So, what's been one of the most rewarding things of making a war game company?
I mean, just the fact that it's my full-time gig. I mean, it's the best job in the world. I get up in the morning and push counters around. I really can't complain about anything. We have our own hours and just do what we want. And we publish, our games, we have games that are kind of like core war games. And then we have games that are a little more unusual, which tend to sell better, actually. And we're able to publish these kind of weird niche games, and people buy them. And that's really gratifying. And I've been talking to a lot of people today at the booth here who introduce themselves. They recognize me, probably because I got the Hollandspiele shirt on, but and they tell me about the game, about playing this game or that game, and enjoying our games. And that's just, it's really gratifying to have that connection with people, and to know that we've given that bit of joy into people's lives. That's why we're doing it. That's what we're selling, are those experiences people can have with their friends and family at the table.
So, with that in mind, what's your favorite game that you've designed? You can sell yourself; it doesn't matter.
The best game that I've designed, and the one I'm the proudest of, is This Guilty Land, which is a 2-player game about antebellum politics in America, about the politics of slavery. And it was much more ambitious than what I usually do. It was very exhausting because it's a very depressing subject matter. I had to really steep myself in the research of it for a long period of time. It was very nerve-wracking because there were so many ways I could have gotten it wrong. I had to be very careful how I approached it, and also how I communicated that to people, because if I communicated it, if I didn't communicate what the game was and what it was not, people could misinterpret it. And that game being misinterpreted would have been a disaster. So the fact that we managed to pull that off, that the game succeeds, I think, on a ludic level as a gameplay experience, but also as a simulation level as far as the model, what I'm trying to model. I'm so proud of having done that. I don't feel like doing anything that big anytime soon, because it was so exhausting. But most of my stuff tends to be more... what's the word I'm looking for? More modest in its ambition. So to go big like that and to have it work, I feel like I have laurels now I can rest on. So that's the game that I'm proudest of, and probably my favorite. Now my best-selling game from Hollandspiele is Agricola, Master of Britain. Table Battles, if you count the expansions. And I'm proud of both of those because they definitely resonated with people. Table Battles especially, the great thing about that is I can do expansions.
Right.
Expansions are fun to do, and they're easier than full games. So.
And then, going forwards in the future, what are some exciting projects you've got working on in the cooker that we can look forward to?
Okay, well, the games that will be out for the rest of this year, I can give you that.
Sure.
Okay? Because we got like 20 games in the pipeline. I'm not going through all those. We have a new Tale Battles expansion. That's the English Civil War. That's coming out early August. We have the first District Commander game by Brian Train, which you may have recently read an interview about that at theplayersaid.com.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, after that, we have Escape from Hades. This is a solitaire science fiction game designed by Fred Manso and developed by Herman Luttman. It is over-the-top action, fun, excitement, and we're really happy to be working with them. We did work with them when we were working for another company previously, and so to finally work with them at Hollandspiele is just a joy. And that's we have high hopes for that one. After that, we have a new Horse and Musket expansion, which is Volume 0, Horse and Matchlock. That's 80 Years' War, English Civil War, Great Northern War. After that, we have At All Costs, which is the sequel to the Last Man by Tim Taylor. People might be familiar with that one. And then we have Westphalia, which is a game I'm here trying to test at WBC, so we'll see how I do with that. It is a negotiation war game for exactly 6 players.
Oh, okay.
And only for 6 players. You cannot play it with less than 6. And the great thing about our model is that we can take something like that that's so incredibly uncommercial, and we won't lose money on it, and we might even succeed. So we can take those kind of creative risks. The difficulty is getting enough testing, because it's actually, surprise, it's actually hard to find 6 people, exactly 6 people to test the game with, compared to a 2-player game. So I'm hoping to get some testing done on that one, because it's.
We'll volunteer.
Oh, I was going to volunteer you.
Off camera, we'll volunteer.
Yeah, absolutely. And it plays like in 2 hours. So a lot of games are like 6-player only, 7-player only games. They're long games, and this is a much simpler and shorter experience. With very interesting interlocking victory conditions, because each player has their own victory condition. They represent a different power at the time during the 30 or 80 Years' War. And the players can satisfy their victory conditions independently, so multiple players can win. So if 5 of the 6 of us all satisfy our victory conditions, those 5 players win. The trick is if all 6 players satisfy their victory conditions, then it goes to score and only 1 player wins. So that only happens if the other 5 players are okay with working really hard to hit their victory conditions and let the other guy walk away with it. So you have these people working with each other and against each other in a war game context, and also in kind of a free-form, wheeling-dealing negotiation context. So it's a game I'm really excited about, because it's a really unique multiplayer experience, I think.
And what's the name of that one?
Westphalia.
Westphalia.
Because it's about the peace of Westphalia that ended the 30 Years' War and the 80 Years' War, which are 2 wars that lasted for 30 and 80 years respectively.
Well, you'd be disappointed if they didn't.
Not just a clever name.
So appreciate you sitting down with us. I wanted to give a shout out to Blue Panther, because they print your games, and they have canvas maps of the maps that come with us, which is just a nice bumper premium version of those, and they're super duper nice. So if you've got any Hollandspiele games, get on that Blue Panther website, because you can pimp them out with these super duper nice maps as well. Do your artists pocket any of that money?
In some cases, yes.
Okay. Well worth it. I'm going to go check those out right now. So appreciate you sitting down with us. Thank you very much, Tom. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com. This is our friend Tom Russell.